Hello crows and non-crows alike, my name is Joe Mac, otherwise known as Support Crow, and today I would like to talk about DLC for Dragon Age the Veilguard, even though it's pretty much already been confirmed that there isn't going to be any DLC. So the game came out, it's doing okay, you know, it's not blowing the Steam charts or anything, but it is doing decently well enough. In fact, it's like surpassing the sales of Jedi Survivor, if what I read was true. A lot of the information out there seems to be tossed around like a volleyball. It's kind of hard to tell what's what out there. But regardless, it seems to be doing pretty well for a single-player game that is being published by EA. However, despite this relative success, BioWare has already confirmed that they are moving their entire team to focus on the next Mass Effect game, which tells me a couple of things. One, the likelihood of DLC for Veilguard is probably going to be non-existent. I can hold out hope, but I'm not going to hold my breath. And the other thing is that maybe Mass Effect 5 could be closer to us than we originally thought. Maybe it's only like a year or two away. But since the confirmation that they are just moving straight ahead to Mass Effect 5, my mind has been reeling from different ideas about DLC that they could do for this game that I really desperately would love to see. And this is what this video is about. Here is 3 DLC that I know would be absolutely fantastic for Dragon Age the Veilguard. But firstly, let's cover like when would this DLC kind of take place. Like, it seems like you know you're fighting the gods and everything is kind of burning down all around you. When do you have time to go on these epic DLC adventures? Well, they kind of, it's a little bit of a spoiler alert for y'all. Like right before the third act, you have this downtime. You are waiting for an eclipse to happen, and it's like weeks away. Now, ultimately, something does happen to kind of escalate the time, but between you realizing you need to wait for an eclipse and that escalation, a whole bunch of stuff could happen. So, DLC number 1. Can you imagine how much of a playground Val Royeaux would be for like Nev Gallus or Lucanus de la Morte? Like, come on. Orlais is a place of intrigue and deception and betrayal, masked over with this refinery and this affluence. Like, I want to take Nev Gallus there for just to watch her solve a case that is based in Orlais. Like, just take me to Val Royeaux, please. And can you imagine like ballroom dancing with Lucanus? Like, come on, you know, who would say no to that? Come on. This DLC could also bring in 2 distinct choices that we made from Inquisition, primarily who the Divine is, who lives in Val Royeaux, and who the Emperor or Empress of Orlais is. But, you know, my crime and assassin flirting fantasies aside, there is some real hardcore stuff going on in Val Royeaux. You know, it is being persistently occupied and invaded by the Venatori, which gives us a reason to go there. And even though the Inquisition is there assisting the army of Orlais and trying to maintain the safety and sanctity of the city, it is basically a standstill. I believe that the Veilguard could be that little push in the right direction to help save the city. Even though Orlais might be a mess, we could probably save the city at least. Number 2, a trip to Seheron. Now, Seheron is a very interesting place. It is consumed by this centuries-long war and conflict. And within it, you have 3 primary factions. You have the Tevinter Imperium, not the Venatori, the Tevinter Imperium. These are the actual officials trying to invade or trying to reclaim the largest island of Thedas for the Imperium. On the other side, you have the Qunari, like genuine Qunari that follow the Q, that are trying to occupy this entire island. And lastly, you have the native Seherons, who are also known as fog warriors or fog dancers, who are extremely talented at stealth and the manipulation of the landscape. And all 3 of these factions really just hate each other. On top of that, there is also this persistent fog that just sort of like covers the entire island. it is referred to as a curse, a legit curse, and it is felt by anyone who visits there. In fact, the Qunari that experience this call this a soul sickness. That's how bad it is. When even the Qunari are getting affected by this and giving it a name, that is something to be dealt with. And there is no telling what the gods' influence is happening here to this island. And I would love to bring Tash into Seheron. You know, it's going to be traumatizing for everyone, but regardless as to whether or not they choose to embrace Qunari culture or Ravani culture, they're going to have to like come to terms about the culture that they left and react accordingly. And we might even get a slight hint further about what this coming storm is that supposedly the Qunari forgot but was long ago afraid of. Overall though, I enjoyed Tash's character. I would love to spend more time with them. And it would also be very interesting to see Qunari culture that has been settled in a place for centuries. Like we've seen Qunari occupy a space and kind of put up their own, you know, propaganda and their own little rough architecture and whatnot. But we have never actually seen a place that is centuries old Qunari. A place with legitimate Qunari architecture. In a way, this kind of reminds me of like Fallout Far Harbor, where you kind of go there and there's three other factions there. You got the synths, you got the dock people, and you got the crazy cultists, and you have to choose which one to kind of deal with, or you could potentially kill all of them. Or save all of them, you know, try to make some peace. I believe dropping Rook into that mess might be particularly a fun thing to do. I think Seheron was definitely considered part of it because we do have some tropical assets in the game already from Ravane. And, you know, this could be the conspiracy theorists in me, but in the wiki, Seheron is the most famous food there from Seheron is fried fish in like this little packet thing. And Nev Gallus's favorite food is fried fish from Street Vendor, and Seheron's fried fish also comes from Street Vendor, which, you know, that's probably a very long stretch, but I'm gonna go with it because I don't have anything else better to do right now. So anyway, moving on. And last but not least, I would love a Citadel-Style DLC for Dragon Age. Now, if you're not familiar with the Citadel DLC, it is a reference to the Citadel DLC from Mass Effect, which was the end-all be-all for the Mass Effect trilogy. Like, they finished Mass Effect 3, there was no confirmation or any kind of idea about where Mass Effect would go to next. I mean, they did a couple of other DLC, but a lot of people speculate that was supposed to be in the main game to begin with. But anyway, to celebrate the completion of Mass Effect and to give fans one last adventure, something to truly encompass the appreciation that everyone has for this series, BioWare made the Citadel DLC, which was this wacky adventure where you go and face your clone and they try to take your place, and it's really silly, but it's also really fun and endearing, and you also see a lot of characters from the past games, and you get to interact with them. And then once you complete that quest, you have like a little mini quest where you go and have a party in your apartment, and everyone comes in, they have a good time, everyone gets plastered. In the end, everyone takes a picture. Whoever remains alive is in the picture, whoever's not is not in the picture. You spend one last night with whoever you're romancing, and then it's back to business. I would love something like that for Dragon Age. And I know the world is ending, but the world was also ending, well, the galaxy was ending in Mass Effect, and they still found an excuse to kind of give people some rest days. And it's not just me that kind of wants a Dragon Age style Citadel DLC. Whenever a Dragon Age game comes out, whenever a DLC is, you know, being talked about, one of the constants that I see, be it anywhere, is someone asking for a Citadel style DLC, And good lord, please, please, BioWare, serve up that food. Look, let's talk about this in business terms in case an EA corpo is listening to this. There is a high demand and there is no supply. We are demanding a Citadel-Style DLC. Please supply the Citadel DLC. And those are my overall wishes for any kind of DLC from Veilguard. Now, granted, I do have a lot more, but those are like the main three. Overall, though, I feel like Veilguard was a bit too short. It was... Now, granted, that's entirely understandable. BioWare went through a pandemic, they went through layoffs, they went through 2 project changes because of things that happened. And while I enjoy the game for what it is, I crave more. I have completed every side quest, I've done all the things. I am scraping every single pixel just to try to initiate some kind of dialogue. I've got a video coming out soon, I'm working on it now, that will explain exactly what I love about the game. But for now, I just want more of it. I want to spend more time with these characters. Especially Varric. I would love to see him a little bit in these DLC and knowing what I know from that. That's what I hope for DLC. If we get any. If we don't, my heart will bleed a little, but I will move on. As we must all. But it feels like Mass Effect 5 is getting closer and closer by the day. And hopefully we won't have to wait too long before that comes out. If there isn't going to be any DLC. Until then though, be safe, be well, be kind. Bye-bye.